All right. I want to thank everybody for being here, both online and in person. And it's great. There we go. All right. So tonight's talk is body types and how they affect you. We're going to go over what we're looking at, what we're going to look at for stress hormones. I'm going to do a little bit about blood sugar, a little bit about stress hormones, how we want to modulate them, and then we'll go into exact body types. So there are 4 body types we're going to go over. And these are 4 glandular systems that drive the metabolism of whichever one you are. So you're going to listen to them and you're like, oh, that's my mom, or that's my friend. And then you'll hear the one that you really like, and everybody's going to get really excited about that one. But listen to the other ones because they apply to other people that you know as well. And there are tricks. I am going to be giving you specific teas that you can drink that will bring the cravings down. That will bring the sugar needs down. So yes, I want you to know how to help yourself, but also learn there are other things that can help you. Can you help him get him a piece of paper? So with that being said, thank you for being here. Please engage, yes, for yourself, but take good notes so you can help your friends and family members have high energy throughout the day. Because the goal here is, yes, if you follow this, you can lose weight. But what I love to see for people is that they don't have those ups and downs and flares that can cause anxiety, that can cause depression, that can cause brain inflammation. They can actually, those ebbs and flows of blood sugar can actually induce autoimmune issues. They can flare autoimmune issues. So we want to go beyond just the superficial and go into how do we stay healthy for our whole life? And guess what? Everybody needs to eat differently. You got to eat for your physiology. So what works for one person is not going to work for you unless you're the exact same body type. So if you're lucky enough where your physiologies match, which most people don't, then you'll be able to eat the exact same things and you'll be fine. But if you're not that lucky, then the person you're with, you may be having to eat completely different meal types. And what is good for one is actually negative for another. So let's get into what we want to do. Let's look at blood sugar first. So we look at blood sugar. Where does our blood sugar come from? It's going to come from 2 things. It's going to come from the food we eat, but it's also going to come from the fat that we turn into sugar and the glycogen that we're going to turn into sugar. That just means energy storage systems. So we store energy in a form of glycogen. This is a quick acting energy you can get. It's in muscles, but the biggest store in one single place is in your liver. So that's one fast acting. The long acting one, and if you ever heard of ketosis or ever heard of Krebs cycle, this is taking fat and turning it into sugar. So when we say sugar, all I'm talking about is glucose. So when you eat fat, you can turn it into glucose. When you eat carbohydrates, you can turn it into glucose. When you eat protein, you can turn it into glucose. The body runs on glucose. It does not run on protein. It does not run on fat. So all the cells run on glucose. How well you can take fat, protein, or carbs and turn it into glucose determines how quickly your blood sugars will change, how quickly they work. So when we understand those basic building blocks, we need to understand that if we have certain things happen, that's where the problems happen. The key is to understand that when we're talking about blood sugar, what we want it to do is stay between 100 is the top and 80 is the bottom. And we want it to fluctuate between 100 and 80. If it goes above that for too long, it will cause chronic inflammation. But here's one most people don't know. If it goes below 80 for too long, it will cause chronic inflammation. So not just high blood sugar is bad, low blood sugar is bad. So we need to know both of those things. So if you think you have a problem with blood sugars, like you get tired after eating certain meals, and you modify your diet based on what I teach you tonight, we may need to go deeper. We may need to get you to buy a continuous glucose monitor, very affordable, $50. And you can see how your blood sugars move up and down for a couple weeks. And you can play around with the foods and see what's actually spiking you. That's the cheap way. If you want to do the scientific all-in hardcore way, we do a food antibody test and see if you have any antibodies to any foods that can literally cause inflammation and blood sugar spikes. If you have chronic inflammation, you will have blood sugar issues. What causes chronic inflammation? Blood sugar can cause.
Describe what the word inflammation.
So inflammation is basically increased interleukin or inflammatory cytokines in the body. So what that means is your body is attacking something because it thinks it could be a virus or bacteria, but that can happen when you spike blood sugars, because in the cells, there is a gene called NF-kappa beta, and it gets activated every time you have insulin surges. So I didn't get there, but that's where I'm going to next. So that's inflammation in a short term, but it's way more complex than that. Every single arthritic disease besides osteo is inflammatory driven. So if you look at all those different things on TV for psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, or biologics, they're all interfering with one of the inflammatory cascades. The problem is your body uses inflammation to destroy bad stuff. It destroys bacteria with that, viruses with that, pathogens with that, as well as scar tissue with it. So if you get rid of inflammation, that's why they ask you, have you been exposed to tuberculosis or certain funguses? That's why it says that on the ads, because they're destroying your inflammatory response, so you'll die from a fungal infection. So you don't want, that's the side effect of the drugs. And you'll see how many of them say, if you've been exposed to this, if you're going to take a virus or a vaccine, if you ever heard that in that means they're destroying your immune system. So inflammation is your body's way to attack what it believes as invaders. But there's a genetic code called NF-kappa beta, and every time your blood sugar spikes above that 100 mark or spikes up, your insulin level goes up as well. Insulin's job is to send blood sugar into the cell and store it. So if your insulin is working correctly, so you got your cell, we got receptor sites, and insulin comes and binds here, opens up a pathway, and then blood sugars go in. That's literally how it works. But if your receptor sites, the insulin receptor sites, become either not as working as well because you have too much fat in the form of triglycerides, which will come from high blood sugars as well, or you have too much insulin being set out, they actually desensitize them, then it won't bring blood sugars in. So what I'm explaining to you is called type 2 diabetes. So it means the receptor, the cell, will not absorb sugar because it's not sensitive to insulin. So what happens here is blood sugar goes up, then insulin spikes, and insulin says to every cell in your body, take in sugar. The cells that are really good at doing it are called adipose or fat cells. So the more you have blood sugar spikes, the more the fat cells will actually grow. Now the problem is the fat cells send out interleukins, which are inflammatory, which will cause your blood sugars to go off as well. So it's a feedback mechanism that we don't want to keep seeing. So basically, we want this to be all under control. We want us to eat. When we eat, then we produce insulin, absorb sugar, make fat, make glycogen, but not pull it too low, because if the insulin spikes up, the blood sugar can go down too low. And this is when you get I'm tired after Thanksgiving and I have to fall asleep. Or I'm tired after I eat this food. And that's because you're having a blood sugar variation. Does that make sense? We're way too much in that. I'm gonna have to speed up now and jump into these. So why I'm telling you this is each one of these people, depending on your body type, gets that blood sugar spike due to a different organ system being stimulated. The organ system that is stimulated determines what body type we call them. So the body types that we have are thyroid, adrenal, pituitary, and gonadal. Gonadal means sex organs or ovaries and reproductive organ driven. Each one of these systems will get stimulated with different foods and cause different blood sugar spikes based on different stimulatory systems. So one can be metabolism, which will be thyroid. So the speed at which you use it will cause blood sugars to go up, speed it up, but then what actually happens to them is they get a rebound effect. They overuse it, and then they have to boost their adrenals to then get blood sugar to come up, and they're going to have this yo-yo due to that. Adrenal, and that's me, what happens with these people is that if they eat foods that stimulate their adrenals, it'll push up their blood sugars. Insulin will come in, pull it down, and then they get tired. And then they're going to want to eat something else to pull their blood sugars up. The interesting one is pituitary. Pituitary is the master gland in the middle of the brain that controls all hormones. Well, with these people, if they eat foods that stimulates their pituitary, it again will stimulate blood sugars to go up. Insulin pulls it down, and then you get the yo-yo again. And then you got gonadal, and these people are sex hormone driven. And there's certain times in the day, each one of these people has problems. So, and I'm going to go over that. So I'm just giving you a broad overview. So for the gonadal, there'll be certain times where they'll pull up, and there's certain times that they push on. So that's a broad overview. We're going to get into specific people first. So I'm going to do the top two that we see most of, and then the other ones we'll go into as well. So the number one that I see in the office is thyroid. And it's usually a female. Thyroid is going to be a person that has, their personality is going to be creative, very sensitive, very high energy when they're balanced. The key is when they're energy balanced, they're high energy. If they are energy depleted because they have eaten the things that are bad for them, like caffeine, carbohydrates, or sugar, they will get anxiety, they will get depression, and they'll be fatigued. So let's talk about this again. They're high energy when they're balanced, as well as creative and sensitive, but they will get depression, anxiety, and low energy when they're fatigued, when they're eating the wrong food for them. So we market to a lot of people with anxiety and depression. So guess what comes in? A lot of thyroid people, because they're literally the people that are swinging. These are also the most sensitive body type because their metabolism is so quick. They burn through stuff so quickly that they'll burn out their body really quick. So for these people, what do they look like? They're usually slim, long, slender arms. And where they gain weight is specifically around their abdomen and their weight and their hips. So mainly abdomen is the first place that you'll see these people gain weight. So this is the lady that in school could eat anything and was perfect, like eat anything, it didn't matter. Then she started burning out. These are the people who in the office are like 9 times out of 10, your Hashimoto's or your thyroid person is a thyroid body type. Then their metabolism starts going down because they're eating the wrong food and they get Hashimoto's or an autoimmune. The thyroid body type is the most prone to autoimmune by far none. Like literally every autoimmune lady I have, except one, is a thyroid. Because the other ones are more resistant because their bodies don't use energy as quickly. So their diet needs to limit caffeine, sugar, as well as they need to limit stress. Because they run so quickly, they can boost their adrenals and stress very, very quickly. Their lifestyle, they need to avoid stress, have lots of calming activities, such as meditation and prayer. Now, here is the thyroid's If you only take away one for thyroid, here is their silver bullet. If they need to get past something because they're hungry and they're really craving something, raspberry leaf tea is what will make them not need to eat that food. And they can drink as much of it as often as they want during the day, if you're thyroid. Are we good on thyroid? Cool. Next one, adrenal. So adrenal is going to look completely different than thyroid. With thyroid as well, an easy way to tell, long, skinny. So you're going to actually notice, you're going to look at their hands and their fingers are going to be longer than their palm. And they're also going to be very thin. If you are somebody who predominantly, and this is what we usually see, the other half of the practice, if you're somebody who predominantly gains weight in your tummy or your chest, you're going to be an adrenal. So if you're a lady and like, when I lose weight, my boobs shrink, you're going to be an adrenal. So adrenals are going to be stockier, more muscle. But like I said, they gain weight in their tummy and their upper body. That'll be back and chest. I forgot to say this. With thyroid, their danger time or their time when they're going to have issues is literally any time that they eat carbs. They're going to have these swings. For them, they have a very specific thing that will happen. They eat carbs, they will become tired 1 hour after eating starch, and then they will be fatigued 3 to 4 hours after eating starch. So these two swings that will happen for them. For adrenals, their diet, I'm back to adrenal now, needs to be high lean in proteins, high in veggies, and the adrenal, the key is you need to decrease or limit caffeine, salt, and butter, as well as red meat. And for this one, the other one that will come in is also shellfish. All the stuff that if you're like, but I love my surf and turf. Yeah, you're probably adrenal. How this works for adrenals is their best activities are cardio because they're really easy at accumulating mass, as well as deep breathing and light exercises. So if you're a adrenal or a gonadal body type, and I'll get to that one later, weightlifting is something you love to do because you're good at it, but it is not what's good for your long-term health. So still do it, but weightlift only one time a week. Go into cardio all the other days. If you're like, I don't like cardio, then pick up a sport that is very movement-oriented, like tennis or basketball or something where you have to run a lot or just move a lot, because that's going to be better for your health. Because adrenal and gonadal people who are accumulators, they're prone to high blood pressure, high cholesterol. They're the ones that are prone to heart attacks. The ones who are prone to cancer are going to be more of your thyroid and your pituitaries. For the adrenal, the danger time, oh yeah, adrenal also, alcohol is not good for you. All of these alcohol isn't good for, but adrenal and gonadal specifically, because it is going to push up your energy, because your energy spikes after 5, and you may want something to suppress it like an alcohol, but the alcohol will cause a blood sugar spike and crash, and then you're going to want to crave something else that'll push it forward. So for the personality of the adrenal person, energetic, strong-willed, determined, but when the adrenal person gets burned out, they will become fatigued and angry. So this is literally you driving yourself and burning yourself out because you're burning out your energy. Your danger time for adrenals is after 5 p.m. That's when you got a ton of energy and you're prone to craving stuff that isn't good for you. You eat a salty snack after 5, you're going to start eating all the candy in the house. You drink alcohol after 5, you're going to start eating all the candy in the house. You do any of these things, that's when you spike yourself. For adrenals, your silver bullet is parsley tea. So you get parsley, loose leaf parsley, put it in a little tea thing, steep it for a couple minutes. It tastes kind of pungent, but it will literally inhibit it. So if you're like, I really want to get my weight under control, I really don't want to eat tonight, eat your dinner, lean meats, veggies, fruit, fine. The dairy, the other things like that are hard on you. Drink your parsley tea right after. If you're still having cravings, drink more of it. If you're still having cravings, eat your vegetables. But the fats and the carbs are really going to push it up, and then you're not going to be able to calm yourself down. So as soon as you stimulate those adrenals with some fat or salt, you're just going to eat everything. It doesn't matter what, like, why am I so hungry? And it's literally because you just drove up your adrenals. Why can't I go to sleep? Well, you're going to literally force your blood sugars to go up, and then you'll dive off. And then you go to sleep, but the next day you'll be inflamed. All right. Are we doing good so far? Okay. So pituitary. We don't see many of these people in the office, but these are people who their body shape is round, soft body shape. They gain weight all over. So this is people who are kind of like, when they're really overweight, they're like, it's not just one area. It's not just their butts or their chest. It's literally all over. For them, their organ that's driving it is pituitary. And the thing that drives their pituitary is mainly dairy and caffeine. So you give dairy to a pituitary person, and they will literally start eating everything as well. Now, their danger times, though, are interesting. So their danger times are, let me see, late afternoon. For pituitaries, the key for them is to understand that they need rhythm. So they have to be on the same rhythm all the time. You throw them off rhythm, they're going to gain weight. They're going to get angry. They're going to have problems. So their body type, what their personality is, nurturing, kind, emotionally driven. They need to crave balance, but they stumble when they're off with cravings and feeling unbalanced. So they're actually very prone to addictions. So this is the body type that will literally drive towards addictions because they're really emotionally driven people because their pituitary is driving them more. So when we look at this, we're going to see people in the pituitary. High protein is good for them, healthy fats. They need to avoid dairy, caffeine, and low sugar because this will cause hormonal imbalances, which will cause those emotional imbalances. So for them, they actually need to eat their biggest meal for breakfast. They literally need to eat steak or protein for breakfast with a heavy breakfast, what somebody would eat for dinner, and then they're going to burn it throughout the day. Whereas thyroid, they need to eat 3 equally distributed meals, whereas adrenal, small breakfast, you could even fast, small lunch, and then big meal for dinner. All right. For pituitary, their silver bullet is fenugreek tea. Fenugreek, yep. So the easy way to understand this is you ask people, you look at them and you go, okay, so they kind of gain weight all over. They kind of like, so these people, the pituitary, they got the baby face. They're 40, 50, they got the baby face. That's the pituitary. That's the easy way to understand that. So you look at them and you ask, okay, when you're stressed out, what do you want to eat? The thyroid is going to say some sort of carbohydrate. The adrenal is going to say some sort of salt or meat. If any of them say alcohol, they all crave alcohol, so that doesn't count. And then the pituitary is always going to say dairy. It could be carbs, but always dairy. The last one, gonadal, is the craziest one I've ever seen because they will, when they're stressed out, will crave spicy food. It is spicy food and fat. So what does the gonadal person look like? This is your hourglass-shaped person. So the gonads mean the sex organs. So it's specifically for females. It's the ovaries and its reproductive hormones that drive these people. So for them, hourglass shape, and they gain weight on their hips. So this is the lady who has a very large lower end and upper body. It looks completely normal. That's going to be gonadal. This is the person when they're stressed out, wants Thai food, wants something spicy, spicy chocolate, spicy chips, spicy something. That's gonadal. They need high fiber, low fat, moderate protein to balance hormones. Their life is driven, what will balance them is regular exercise. All the other ones, exercise is somewhat, but this one, hormones are literally driving it. So regular exercise will help with hormone and stress management. Regular physical exercise is really important for them. Personality, very passionate, very social, but these are the people who are your mood swingers because the hormones are going to go up and down and up and down and up and down. So this is the crazy PMS lady that you're like, what is going on? And it's literally because the gonads are not able to stabilize. So that could be a blood sugar driving it or other things when we look at a functional medicine, but this is that emotions will go up and down. So for them, their danger times, let me see, did I do danger times for pituitary? I don't think I did I? Late afternoon is danger time for pituitary, because that's when the pituitary is fluttering. So that's when the least amount of hormones are being produced. For gonadal, it's late morning and early evening, or in late evening. Late morning and late evening. For gonadal, it's mainly spices. You're going to watch them go. So when you ask them, what do you want when you're stressed? Spicy something. So they're going to be your spicy, 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 spicy people. And I was like, oh, this explains everything in Georgia. I couldn't understand these people who wanted spicy chicken. And that's literally fat and spice gonadal. So we're seeing that. What is okay for them, though, is spices such as dill, parsley, basil, tarragon, thyme. Those are fine. It's just hot spices are what will trigger them. So these people, if they eat, say, Thai food all the time, they will gain weight. They eat spicy chicken all the time, they're going to gain weight. They go on to a more vegetarian, low-fat diet, they will drop weight really quickly as well. This person, the gonadal, their silver bullet is red clover tea. Each one of these teas will help you stabilize your blood sugar based on who you are. So if you look in this room right now, I already know we have a bunch of thyroids, at least 3, and I think 2 adrenals. So do we have any questions on what I just explained to you guys?
How does that blood type eat for your blood type factor into all this?
I don't know because this is physiology type. So blood type based, I'll tell you, I don't know, and I can just tell you, when you look at that, it's based on heritage. The problem with eating for your blood type is if you're, say, somebody based on your blood type that says that you need to, and blood type is really hereditary, but if you look at physiology type, it changes. So like you can have multiple people in, and I've seen this, like I have one lady, she's coming in, she's a thyroid, and her 2 kids are both adrenal, but they're all going to have the same blood type because that's going to be hereditarily passed down. So that's going to be more of a hereditary thing, aka where you're from. So that may be where you're limited with the blood type. But if you look at your physiology and what you run on, it's going to be more inducive to getting your outcome. Does that make sense? Because if you know what triggers you, salt, then you know you can decrease that. You're not going to have cravings. And then you'll know. For adrenals specifically, what will happen is when you eat stuff that pushes your adrenals up, your blood pressure will go up, and that's what makes you feel alive. And when you eat right for a while, when you do that, you will literally feel your blood pressure go up, and you can feel the change in your body. You will literally feel a spike, and you're like, okay, I got to get this down. And so you usually try to eat for that one as well. Gonadal, you'll see very similar as well. Because it'll push up the hormones. Pituitary is more like emotion driven. So you're gonna get those, dopamine rushes from eating cheese. So the answer is, I don't know specifically. I do know that this one I really like because it is very specific for your physiology. And it's not where you're from, it's where do you gain weight, tells us primarily how you're gonna eat. You'll be like, and I'm right now I've seen 100 for 100% of as soon as they tell me what they want to eat, and look at their physiology, I already know what they're gonna crave. Like if a lady comes in and she's well endowed and thicker wrists, I go, you love salt, you love dairy, and they're like, how do you know? And I'm like, your body literally tells me. Or I see more of a thin lady, I'm like, you're gonna be all carbs, and you'll just figure out what it is. A little lady with a larger rear end, we're gonna talk spices, and she's gonna be all over that. And you tell them, as soon as you tell them this is what you have to stop eating, and they get pissed, you hit the right point. They're like, but I love that. And I'm like, yeah, that's literally where the problem is. So like the worst thing you could ever do for an adrenal body type is put them on the paleo diet. You're going to make them gain weight because they're going to eat a lot of protein and fat. And that's going to literally, push their blood sugars up.
They need to be eating veggies and lean meat.
Veggies and lean meat. Yeah, not fats. A thyroid, on the other hand, paleo is the best thing in the world.
So how do you reconcile that emotional part? It's like, I'm not gonna succeed because you're telling me I can't eat anything I like.
Well, what happens, yeah, I understand what you're saying. So what happens is you go do it for 2 weeks and then tell me what happens. If you give me 2 weeks, I guarantee your life will change. If you truly do it, because I tried it and I'm like, this is BS, but I'll try it. And so what I did is I go, well, I want to see if this is really true. So I'm gonna eat just bacon and eggs. Well, bacon is salt, fat, and literally within an hour, I could not keep my eyes open. My blood sugar spiked and dropped, and I just fell asleep. I'm like, okay, this is true. And then I started eating that way, and my energy just stays the same. So if you want your energy to be high, this is how you do it. You want you to lose weight, this is how you do it. It's the same thing. But for me, it was a lot about energy, and for most people, it is. So if you want your energy to stay high and not get those lulls and the doldrums, it's literally just modified for energy, and you don't need the cravings. What happens is over time, your body will actually crave different foods. You'll start actually craving the stuff that's good for you instead of the stuff that gives you that energetic high for a short period of time. So you'd be like, if they're like, no, I don't want to do that, I'm like, fine. When you're ready to change, let me know. And that's really all you can do because you can't force the horse to drink water. You can only just lead them there. Make sense? Cool. Do we have any other questions? Yeah.
You said that for adrenals. Why isn't weightlifting good for them?
No, weightlifting is good, but it's not good for you long term.
Okay.
So an adrenal person is a hypertrophy person. They gain weight easy. So you gain muscle mass very easy. Every single Mr. America and strongman is an adrenal. And if you want to see what an adrenal looks like, it's a square hand. Their hand is going to be as wide in reference to how tall it is, and their fingers are going to look more like sausages. Not like a thyroid where it's more, now this is a generality, but with thyroid, it's more slender and skinny. So do your fingers look like highlighters or do they look like pencils? And then you'll know more what we're looking at. So exercising is good. You can still power lift and move weights as an adrenal. The problem is adrenals and gonadals are prone to high cholesterol problems, high blood sugar problems, and heart attacks. So if you don't do the cardio to burn off that and get your blood sugar under control, you're more prone to a heart attack. So it's not that you can't do it, it's that if you want to live longer, cardio is better for you as an adrenal. So that's why I literally changed the sports that I like playing. I went to tennis, which is more cardio, than more of like a power thing, because it actually makes your body adapt better. Whereas a thyroid is going to be a person who loves long distance running. What's better for them is actually more muscle mass. So powerlifting is better for them. So what you crave is what you're good at. What makes you live longer is actually the opposite. You still can do what you like. You can still weight lift 1 or 2 times a week. If you want to gain weight, just do more, but you got to put in that 30 minutes of cardio to keep your heart healthy. And if you look at what the heart healthy diet is, it's literally telling you to not eat adrenal. If you look at thyroid people, they're not going to have heart disease. They're going to have cancer. They're going to have other metabolic issues. They're not going to have heart disease. They're going to have the other issues that we see happen. Autoimmune cancers, different things like that. Whereas the heart disease is primarily in the adrenal or the gonadal body type. Any other questions? I think we might have timed out. Almost. Okay. So I want to thank you all for being here. Tell one of your friends or family members. If you want to get the test that can tell you which body type you are, we have it here. We can give it away for free. You just fill it out. One question, you have to look at your body, what it looks like. If you don't know, just ask me and I'll circle it for you. And then all the rest of them are what you crave and what you like to eat. So I want to thank you guys for being here. I hope this helps you with energy, blood sugar management, and if so, weight loss as well. Have a good night.